And with that, let me turn to our guest, Dennis Zulu, who is joining us virtually. Uh, yes, we see you on the camera. Welcome, Mr. Zulu. So, Dennis Zulu is the resident coordinator in Jamaica, the Bahamas, Bermuda, the Cayman Islands, and Turks and Caicos. And he's here to brief on the impact of Hurricane Melissa. Welcome, Mr. Zulu. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Oh, yes, we can.
Okay, wonderful. So, good afternoon. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to update on what has happened since Hurricane Melissa. So, today marks 50 days since Hurricane Melissa made landfall and exited Jamaica, leaving behind a trail of destruction without precedent in the country's recent history. Current estimates place total damage and losses between $8 and $15 billion, which is equivalent to nearly a quarter of Jamaica's gross domestic product. The human impact has been profound. More than 626,000 people were affected, 45,000 lives were tragically lost, and while meaningful progress has been made, 90 emergency shelters remain operational today, hosting 942 individuals who have not yet been able to return home. The physical devastation has been extensive and nationwide, with at least 120,000 buildings, primarily in southwestern Jamaica, losing their roofs, leaving entire communities exposed. The hurricane triggered prolonged and cascading disruptions to essential services, and the western parishes were without electricity for weeks on end. We know that 631 water systems have been affected, and 27 remote communities were temporarily cut off due to blocked transport routes. The telecommunication networks also collapsed across several parishes, and five major hospitals in the southwestern part sustained severe structural damage, placing additional strain on what is already a stressed health system. The education sector was also deeply affected, with more than 450 schools, nearly two-thirds of all institutions nationwide reported damage, ranging from roof loss to full structure failure. This scale of destruction has not only been unprecedented, it has really reversed hard-won development gains in a country that was firmly on a positive social and economic trajectory. Tourism and agriculture, both cornerstones of Jamaica's economic and major sources of employment, were among the sectors hardest hit, and this was particularly so in the western and southern western parishes. And damage to tourism facilities and agricultural production in these areas has placed thousands of jobs and household incomes at risk, compounding pressures on vulnerable communities. So, over the past 6 weeks, the United Nations, working closely and in partnership with the government of Jamaica, the national institutions, civil society, and indeed international partners, has mounted a large scale coordinated humanitarian response focused squarely on saving lives and protecting the most vulnerable. Together, we have delivered life-saving food assistance, ensured access to safe water and emergency sanitation, supported temporary shelter, restored critical telecommunications, strengthened logistics and supply chains, and provided urgent medical and psychosocial care to those injured, displaced, or otherwise affected by the hurricane. All this work has been made possible by funding from UN member states, either directly to various UN agencies in Jamaica or indeed through the Central Emergency Fund, SURF. While life-saving humanitarian needs remain, particularly among displaced and highly vulnerable populations, we're now entering a carefully managed transition from emergency response towards early recovery and resilience building. This transition is firmly government-led, and the United Nations is aligning its support with the national recovery priorities to help communities restore livelihoods, rebuild essential services, and recover with dignity. Our immediate recovery focuses include the following: restoring health services to safe and fully functional operating levels, supporting the education sector, particularly as schools prepare to reopen, assisting the restoration of essential services in communities still without access, and contributing to repair and reconstruction of homes, roads, and critical infrastructure, restoring livelihoods through targeted support to small farmers, fishers, and micro and small enterprises, strengthening agriculture to enhance food production, food security, and rural employment, and supporting the tourism sector to as a critical employer and source of foreign exchange to safeguard jobs and accelerate recovery. And lastly, ensuring that the recovery efforts are inclusive, climate resilient, and risk informed so Jamaica rebuilds back better than it was before. However, it's important to be clear that the scale and cost of recovery are immense. Rebuilding homes, restoring infrastructure, and revitalizing livelihoods and strengthening resilience will require substantial financial resources over an extended period. For this reason, Jamaica recovery cannot rest on national efforts alone. It will require the collective effort of bilateral and multilateral partners, international financial institutions, the private sector, and indeed the wider development community to stand with the country at this critical moment. Let me emphasize that this transition does not signal a withdrawal of support. It represents a shift in posture from emergency relief towards recovery, while the United Nations remains fully engaged, bridging humanitarian action with sustainable development and continuing to respond to urgent needs wherever they persist. Hurricane Melissa has once again shown how climate-related shocks can erase years of development progress in a matter of hours. And as recovery advances, the United Nations will continue to advocate for stronger resilience, improved access to appropriate financing, and recovery solutions that leave no one behind. So the United Nations stands with the people and the government of Jamaica, not only in its response, but will do so throughout the recovery and beyond. I thank you, and back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zulu. I'll now turn the floor over for questions. I believe we have a question from Jackie Charles of the Miami Herald.
Yes, hi. Thanks for doing this. The Jamaican government has really been touting how fast their recovery efforts have been going. This week they reopened the country for tourism. I'm wondering, do you guys have a sense in terms of when we think about Maria, the impact and the recovery versus Melissa? Are they recovering much faster than Maria? But we're looking for like some sense of how this recovery is going, especially given the challenges that you've just laid out.
Thank you so much. Well, I think let me just put it this way. I think Jamaica was better placed and well positioned to deal with Hurricane Melissa. And as you said, Maria, and after Maria, we had only 15 months ago, we had Hurricane Beryl. So the Jamaican government has been fine-tuning its response, both at the recovery stage and also the recovery stage, trying to get the economy back on its feet. But also, I must commend the fact that Jamaica really made very good preparations to the landfall of Melissa. And therefore, the preparedness part of it was well done. And this also facilitated and aided the quick recovery that we are currently seeing at the moment. Definitely, and having worked in Jamaica during Hurricane Beryl and looking what it is now, Melissa was much more bigger and much more devastating than Beryl, but I've seen that we've quickly moved on to the recovery stage, really attributed to preparation, but also experiences and good practices learned from the hurricanes and the tropical storms that affected Jamaica prior to Melissa.
A quick follow-up. What is the biggest challenge right now? Have they made it into the western regions that are the hardest hit, or are we still dealing with debris and access issues?
Well, I think one of the major challenges really is, and this is particularly so in places like Black River, which were really the center of the landfall, and really when we're talking about, we really have to talk about reconstruction, especially of the energy grid. The electricity poles were really wiped out. It's more like reconstruction than just patching up now. So that's a big challenge. But the Jamaican Power Public Services that's responsible for the supply of electricity has announced, and they've brought in quite substantial numbers of technicians from across the Caribbean to support with this. So getting energy back, because as you know, that's very critical to get the livelihoods restored, has been a big challenge. And also the fact that we do not, we have the hospitals working, but the structural damage is also very critical, and that will take a bit of time. So those still remain to be the challenge. So energy drives everything else. Water, there's been tremendous progress on that. And the government now is really looking towards reopening schools the first week of January. So that's an excellent step forward. But the challenge do remain. But I must just say also that access, now I think we have access, and the government has access to virtually all the parts that would affect it.
Thank you.
And thank you very much. So I'd like once more to thank our guest, Dennis Zulu, the UN Resident Coordinator in Jamaica, the Bahamas, Bermuda, the Cayman Islands, and the Turks and Caicos Islands. Thanks very much, and good luck in the days ahead.
Thank you so much,
Thanks.
and it's been a pleasure.
Good afternoon, everyone.